Hey guys, welcome back to XUK here with yet another RPG a Day 2021 video. And today we are talking day 27 and I have picked the prompt group. When I started role-playing properly, I had friends at school, still friends with, some of them still game with, but we got a AD&D second edition group started sometime around about 1991, and bar one person, I met everybody who was in that group for the first time. It was an ad that had been placed in the local newsagents looking for players for Dungeons and Dragons, and I turned up and met 5 strange chaps. One didn't stay, played one game, I think one person left. A couple of guys who were brothers stayed 2 or 3 years for things sort of like went a bit south with them and they left. My friend Big Dave was one of them, still friends with, and another chap, Terry, who had put the ad out initially, and my friend Jason joined a few weeks later. And that group lasted through about 10 or 12 years. Initially we were an AD&D second edition group, but with the introduction of another guy, JP, who I've mentioned before is one of my favourite GMs ever, we played some Deadlands, the Weird West. We did that for probably a couple of years or so, and we ended up moving on to Vampire the Masquerade, and then back to Deadlands. And sometime in the very early OOs, that group sort of fell apart. For no real reason. I think for 10 years it had done its job. In about 92, I had felt the need to start a new group, a second group, because I kind of felt that the people I was playing with there were nice guys and everything, but I've always felt that some of the best games I've ever had have been with people who are not role players, who don't know the rules back to front, don't know all the monsters by heart. And I wanted another group for that sort of side of the game. So I had one group for the experienced players and one group for the not so experienced players. It didn't turn out that way, and in the end it became another group with 4 or 5 other people, and slowly that became the dominant group. My friend Jay came over, he played in both of these groups and still plays today. And this is a group that has basically continued on ever since. Has been a lot more successful. And we spent the 1990s playing AD&D second edition. We jumped to third edition, 3.5, and ultimately Pathfinder, which is where we're stuck, first edition Pathfinder. Over the last several years, well, slightly longer than that actually, because we had our local gaming shop, Gamers, open up sometime around about 2005, and I met, or rather we met, some other role players through that. Nobody that really joined our group at the time, but there were people that played RuneQuest as a primary, and I played that campaign. I played half a campaign effectively with them. And we played a few other bits and bobs. We played some AD&D, we played some 3rd edition, played some Pathfinder. But this, probably the last several years, is where I've met a lot more people. 2 of our kind of members, shall we say, Darren and Chris, had started doing Pathfinder Society. And whenever I've looked at society style games like that, I was never impressed, I was never intrigued, so I never really got into it. But ultimately, we eventually did, and I was in the wrong. And we really enjoyed running PFS for quite a few years. And we got a lot of people into role playing through this. And even in about 6 years ago, so what's that, 2015, 16, I even had a little Sunday group comprised of 3 of these and another friend of mine, Simon, from our main group, trying to run some games there. That sort of changed. I can't remember exactly why that one wrapped up. I can't remember. But some of the people that started playing Pathfinder Society have sort of migrated over into our main group. People that I used to go and play card games and stuff with in Cambridge have come over into the role playing. Some of them were role players already, so that's cool. But from a beginning where there was about 5 or 6 of us who answered an ad, to a secondary group of about 5 or 6 of us that was made up of random people that sort of come together and become friends and spread through, and it's enlarged. It's no longer those original people. Instead, we've now kind of got, well, we call it our RPG society, but we've got probably a dozen people at least. I have never really sat down and counted it, but regular players, to the point that some nights when we had the game shop open before the pandemic, we had 2 groups going. So we had about 12 players, maybe a couple more. And there are people who've become very good friends. I couldn't imagine my life without them. And it has brought us together. You know, sometimes I think, who would I be if I had never met my friend Chris at school to actually give me that leap that I wanted from being interested in role-playing games to actually playing it. If I'd never met him, would I have ever done it? Who would I have been now without that in my life? And I'd have never met these people who are my closest friends, and I'd have been a completely different person. And I'm glad that I am who I am, and I'm glad that I've met these people in my group, in my gaming society. You know, and through them I've met other people who I consider friends. And it's sort of like, for somebody who is very introverted, that's me. I'm not a big one for going out and doing things. It's certainly broadened my circle of friends and my social ability, and that's separate to being a role player and being a gamer and knowing these people through that. I would not be the person I am now without the people from back, you know, when I was at school and role playing, through that first gaming group, the second one that has lasted nearly 30 years. Actually, it is 30 years. You know, and through that and through the hobby, I've made so many new friends and become a much better person than perhaps I was back then. Anyway, I'm beginning to waffle a bit now, so I do apologise. Anyway, thank you for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. It would certainly help. I'd like to know about your gaming groups, the people you've met who sort of stood out for you, and how your role-playing group, your gaming society, has influenced you. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Good gaming.